What's going on, y'all, and happy Wednesday. I hope everybody out there is feeling fantastic on this morning where I am. If it's lunchtime, night, I hope you're feeling fantastic, no matter what time of day it is, where you are right now. Now, with all of that said, let's go ahead and jump into our topics for the day. And the first thing I want to discuss is this situation that's going down with Halle Bailey and her baby daddy, DDG. So Halle has said enough of the abuse. She is coming after DDG. She has filed a police report, and now she wants a court-ordered protection from DDG. Now, this situation is very crazy because DDG has been all over social media, especially in the past couple of months, talking about that he has restrictions when it comes to seeing his son Halo. And he tried to come off as a very concerned father when expressing the lack of visitation that he has with his son. And so what's interesting about this dynamic is the fact that TMZ reported this story, and DDG found out while he was on live stream with a popular streamer, Aiden Ross.
All right, I'm looking at her story now. What? Oh. Not that. Don't even.
That can't even be real.
That, bro.
But that can't even be real. That's the thing.
But don't even. But you know what we talked about last night? That. Let me say something. It's not.
No, I'm saying, but I don't know where that even came from.
Yo, stop these fake allegations. This is a father. This is a real person. It's a good human being.
Even, but I don't.
But hey, bro, we on stream, bro.
Come on, like I gotta be.
Just don't do it, bro. Come here. That's my real friend. We're not gonna do no false in this stream. He's a great human being. He does a lot for a lot of people. He's a man. He's a father, and we're gonna respect him. We're gonna love him. WDDG, and anyone got anything to say?
The fake narratives. Stop the bullshit. You don't want to hear that. That's fake.
Listen to R. Kelly.
Now, it seems as though that Aiden and DDG possibly had a conversation about the true nature of Halle and DDG's relationship the previous night, because he said, hey, you remember what we talked about last night? Don't discuss it, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. But anyway, Halle and DDG broke up in October of 2024, and she said that things first got physical this past January. So she's saying that DDG had came over to pick up their son. She tried to have a conversation with him about child visitation and things of that nature. And while she was buckling Halo in the car seat, she says that DDG grew agitated and repeatedly said, "Get out of my car, B." Halle says the baby was crying and she got nervous about DDG leaving with him in such an agitated state. Then she says that the two of them began to wrestle, and she said that DDG laid hands on her, pulling her hair, and also placing her face on the steering wheel. And of course, it was forcefully done. I'm just trying to pick the right words because this is a dignified platform. Now, as a result of that alleged senseless act, Halle walked away from that incident with a chipped tooth. Now, she was so worried, and they stopped the fighting after that transpired. So she was still worried about Halo. So she remained in the car for the ride over to DDG's house, and his family was there. And when she got there, she ended up telling his family what had happened in the car. Now, after a short period of time, DDG's family assured her that they would take care of Halo, and she left hysterical, and she also left with bruises on her arms to go along with the chipped tooth, okay? Now, on top of that, Halle also accuses DDG of some very creepy behavior. She says back in March, he showed up at her home and entered without her permission, went into her bedroom, and texted a pic of Halle's empty bed to her, along with the text, "Now I know what you've been on, LOL." Now, Halle says that she interpreted what DDG was trying to say was that she was having sex with other people. Then she explains that 4 days later, DDG came to the house wanting Halo, right? And she explained to DDG that her and Halo were sick and that she didn't want Halo out and about and things of that nature. But DDG wasn't trying to hear that. He started calling her out of her name and things like that. He smashed her Ring camera and ran away with her phone, drove off, and then Halle claims, that he threw the phone out of the window and yelled at her and said, "Go get it, B." Now, that situation right there is what prompted Halle to go and file a police report, and she said that she has the Ring camera footage to prove it. Now, Halle says that what transpired last weekend was the last straw when she was in St. Lucia, I believe that's how you pronounce it, vacationing with her sister, and DDG was accusing her of being with an island singer by the name of Brent Fayaz. I'm pretty sure I'm botching that name, but it is what it is. And Halle said that she replied and said, yo, I'm out here with my sister. I'm not with no man or anything or whatever the case may be. Let me enjoy my Mother's Day in peace. So the judge ended up granting Halle a DV restraining order and requiring DDG to stay 100 yards away. And on top of that, the judge gave Halle permission to take their son Halo to Italy, where she will be filming a movie for the next 2 months. Now, DDG has the right to respond in my estimation. I'm a fair person, but if she has receipts, she has the door ring camera footage, and you know, she's saying that she has this and that, and she can prove a lot of things, and she talked to the family. Boy, you can't be doing that to Ariel, not the melanated Ariel, no woman period, right? For that matter. But at the end of the day, if this checks out to be true, you're cooked. But anyway, let's move along, and I want to talk about the Diddy trial. I know everybody is covering it. There could be this thing that comes upon all of us called the Diddy fatigue because of the amount of people that are talking about this. But I have some things that maybe you're not hearing because of the connection that I have with individuals that are on the ground there. Now, the first thing I want to bring up is this TMZ situation. So we all know that Cassie took the stand on yesterday. Now, while she was testifying, TMZ thought it was a good time to release some footage that they had in the stash of Diddy and Cassie in Mexico celebrating his 48th birthday, which displays Cassie having a good time, all smiles, and this footage was taken back in 2017. Now, as you can see in the video, it seems as though that this is a lovely couple having a good time. Diddy has his arms wrapped around Cassie. Cassie is clapping, enjoying the scene, enjoying the music. She turns around, tries to go in for a kiss. Diddy disses her and didn't kiss her at all. But it just seems as though that they're trying to portray that Cassie is not a full-fledged victim in all of this. That's how it comes across, because why else would TMZ release this footage while Cassie, being 8 months pregnant, on the stand recounting her horrific stories that she went through with Diddy, right? And so it seems that a lot of people are disgusted with TMZ for being disingenuous, insensitive, and downright reckless by releasing this footage during the trial and while Cassie was testifying. Now, another thing that I want to bring to y'all's attention is the fact that I've been in close contact with someone that's covering this trial, that's on the grounds of the courthouse right now as I speak. And I had the pleasure of having a conversation with them last night, and the conversation went like this. So they were telling me about the conversation that was going on between journalists out there that were covering the P. Diddy case, and they were talking about the nature of Kim Porter and Cassie's relationship. And I was told that Cassie was super jealous of Kim Porter and she couldn't stand Kim at all. She was upset with the fact that Diddy was doing so much for Kim financially, buying her house after house, buying her car after car, and Cassie wasn't even getting those things from Diddy, and she was supposed to be in a full-fledged relationship with Diddy. Now, another thing that was expressed to me is the fact that Cassie was upset with Diddy because Diddy didn't want to have children with her, which led Cassie to have a disdain for Kim Porter because she felt insecure, like what was wrong with her. And mind you, Cassie thought that she was the cream of the crop over Kim Porter based off of the difference of their skin tone, right? So she thought because she was light-skinned that she was better than Kim Porter. And I told you guys before on this channel, Cassie has made that reference before behind closed doors. Now, this is very strong in regards to what I'm about to say. I'm not saying that I believe it. I'm not saying that I don't believe it. I just can't confirm or deny that these things were said, so it's all alleged, right? So I've been told that Cassie said multiple times behind closed doors that she wished that Kim Porter was DAD. Allegedly. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that her jealousy for Kim Porter ran that deep. At least that's what I'm being told. But anyway, what I want to do right here is leave you guys with a few updates. I know that the court proceedings involving this trial is underway right now as I speak. So I want to give you a few updates as it pertains to what went down yesterday, because it got extremely dark and wicked in that courtroom. Once you hear that Cassie was forced to participate in freak-offs while she was dispensing ketchup, and I'm paraphrasing there, you guys know what I mean, her monthly and things like that, it's just utterly sick. So sit tight if you want to become privy to this information. If you already know, I understand you guys clicking off. But with all of that said, don't forget to like this video, share this video, and if you're new here, consider subbing to the channel. I'll get with you guys later. Yep.
Cassie Cassie has officially taken the stand and she's currently given her testimony. And while she's doing that, let's talk about the first witness. The first witness for today has just finished. Daniel Phillip, who is a male worker, testified yesterday, and you can click on the comment if you haven't already seen that. They obviously picked up where they left off, which was cross-examination and then redirect. Yesterday, when Daniel Phillip testified, he said that it would be anywhere from an hour to 10 hours whenever they would have these encounters. We left off where he was talking about the one time he was at Cassie's home and he saw Diddy by the face into the room, and then he heard what he thought was Diddy. He said he later asked Cassie why she was still with Diddy, and she said, "It's okay, I'm okay," although she was visibly shaken. He also recalled another incident at a Manhattan hotel where there was, and he said that Cassie was shaken and she was terrified. He says the two of them ended up having organically, but because he was disturbed emotionally, he was having dysfunction. He said Diddy had come out of the room and asked them if they were ready to continue. But during cross, the defense pointed out that Daniel Phillip had told police something different in 2023. Apparently in 2023, Daniel's testimony then was Diddy came out and said, "Yo man, I need to deal with this. You need to get the F out." But Daniel said he doesn't remember saying that. The defense did press hard during cross, and they tried to show that Cassie was a willing participant. They emphasized that she paid for hotel rooms and she would often initiate contact with Phillip. They asked him if she was in complete control of what she was doing, to which he responded, "I cannot say that." They then showed a text message from Daniel Phillip to Cassie, and this was after the he said, "Don't give a F if I'm a little tipsy. I love y'all." But Daniel said he sent that text message because he was trying to prove that everything was okay and to keep it going. Diddy's attorneys tried to say that Daniel thought he was in a relationship with Cassie, that he was jealous of Diddy's relationship with her. He denied that he ever thought he was in a relationship with Cassie, but said that he would have gone on a date with her if given the chance. Also clarified that Diddy did give directions when they were doing their acts, that Diddy would tell them what positions to use to put more baby oil on, which was different than other clients because he was used to being more in control. Once cross was over, they redirected back to the prosecutors, who tried to emphasize that Phillip was emotionally distressed by the He reiterated that he only received payment if he physically performed, but if he couldn't, he would receive nothing. Now, that was everything with Daniel, and I will be back later with Cassie's testimony. Cassie officially took the stand and they jumped right in, not wasting any time. Before I get into what she has already said, I just want to say that her husband is in the courtroom and the defense tried to get him removed, saying that they might call him up as a witness later. But the prosecutor pushed back, saying that Cassie is going to need her support system when she's on the stand. They ended up meeting in the middle, saying that he can stay, but he will have to leave once Cassie gets to 2018, where she alleges that Diddy had her. Now, throughout Cassie's testimony, it's being said that she was dabbing her eyes, she was emotional, and she was resting her hand on her belly. Obviously, we know Cassie as a 38-year-old pregnant woman, but she described meeting Diddy when she was just 19 years old. She was modeling in New York City, but after meeting, she signed a 10-album deal with his label, Bad Boy Records. She was very honest with her testimony. She talked about the fact that he was this larger-than-life entrepreneur, and she was a fan of his music. She said she was 21 when Diddy made his first move. She was in Vegas celebrating her birthday when Diddy, out of nowhere, kissed her in the bathroom. She was really confused. She was young and a new artist and didn't really know the lay of the land when it came to things like that. She said she did not want him to kiss her at her 21st birthday, and she ran back to her room crying and telling her friend. After that, he started inviting her to hotel rooms in New York where he was staying because his home was being renovated. Cassie admitted she wanted to be around Diddy the same way everybody else did at that time. He said he was this fun, exciting, entertaining guy who happened to have her career in his hands. Cassie described herself as someone that was actually inexperienced at the time and said that he would do on her, but that she wouldn't on him. She said he would make her feel crazy for not reciprocating and said that he was the first person she did that with. Cassie does say that at this time, she was still involved with someone else. Cassie talked about a trip she took later to Miami with Diddy and said that on that trip, Diddy gave her a blue dolphin pill. She said that was the first time they had actually done it. Cassie also testified that Diddy basically controlled everything. Music, her image, who she talked to, made her submit song lists that were assigned busy work just to keep her occupied. As far as her music goes, she says he gave her no control over the release of her music and that she recorded hundreds of songs, 9 albums worth, but only released 1. She said she was never paid for the rest. In fact, it almost felt like the freak-offs became the work. Cassie says once she started dating Diddy, she had to cut off her manager because he was managing her former boyfriend. As far as living arrangements, she said at one point they moved back to LA so he could be be closer to his kids, but he was paying the rent and he had the keys to her apartment and he would walk in unannounced. She also said that he had her so close to his home that he could travel between the two with a golf cart. She wasn't responding to him. He became an incessant caller and he would send security and assistance to track her down. Cassie also talked about the physical in the relationship. He would not be over if I was down. He said it happened too frequently and that he would leave her with eyes, not twisted lips, and bruises all over her body. It didn't stop with the physical because she said he was also psychologically abusive. He would tell her things like fix your face, watch your mouth, and he would tell her if he didn't like her facial expressions. Now we get into the freak-offs. He said within the first year of the relationship, he introduced her to what he called a freak-off. He told her it would be acts with escorts while he watched and directed. She said it wasn't something I wanted to do, but I didn't know what no would turn into. He also feared blackmail from the tapes that he was recording. He told the jury that he had many resources to put these tapes on the internet. I know a lot of people were shocked when the first escort witness said that this could go on for an hour to 10 hours, but she testified today that it would go on for 4 days sometimes. She described it as her job, saying that it would include substances, drinking, and said that she would need days to recover after the fact. As far as her state of mind goes, she says she was nervous, confused, naive, and a people pleaser who just wanted to make him happy. She said eventually she realized that Diddy had many girlfriends, but for a time she believed that they were monogamous. Cassie did admit that she would see other men and he would also see other women. He said he'd tell her, I am Puff Daddy, and she was insanely jealous. Cassie also talked about her relationship with her ex-best friend, Carrie Morgan, and why they had a falling out. She said it was an incident where Diddy threw a wooden hanger at Carrie during a fight that gave her a concussion. Because of that incident, the relationship between the two friends completely ended. A legal settlement followed and Cassie ended up paying Morgan herself to settle the dispute. Right before break, Cassie said that the freak-offs consumed her life and her career. She recalled spending entire weeks either doing substances or recovering from it. Asked how that affected her music, she smiled slightly and said, "You're asking me?" They did take a break from here, so I will be back later once she's back on the stand. Cassie was back up on the stand after lunch break, and they're saying she's likely going to be testifying for the rest of this week. They did just take a 5-minute break, so I am going to recap everything else she said since then. In this portion of her testimony, Cassie talked about control over her career and finances, control over the appearance of her body, emotional, physical, psychological abuse, taking her belongings, staff involvement, weapons, and intimidation. She not only talks about her first freak-off, but she also mentions freak-off details. She talks about substance use and recovery, emotional impact, and blackmail fears. Her testimony was also supported by emails and photographs. When it comes to her career, she says that her manager at Bad Boy Records, James Cruz, told her that he was managing her with one arm tied behind his back because everything had to be approved by Diddy. When it came to her stunning beauty, she said that Diddy criticized her looks frequently. Even said that he once told her she looked too Mexican when she wore a certain hairstyle. When it came to her looks, he had preferences. He wanted her to have white or French tip nails. He wanted her to wear certain hairstyles, and he wanted her to keep her body ready for freak-offs. Cassie said that they had discussed implants and she was told to tan, wax, wear netted outfits, and extremely high heels. She said her self-confidence was obviously impacted and said her self-worth took a hit for the entirety of their relationship. When it came to the I detailed some of it in the last video, but she added that his moods would change unpredictably. She said when he would get violent, his eyes would be going black. If Diddy ever disapproved of her, he or his staff would be taking her belongings. That included phones, laptops, cars, apartment access, and jewelry. The items were only returned to her whenever the punishment was over. During her testimony, she named staff members who facilitated or enforced her control. She said it was Christina Coram, who Diddy called KK, Tony Fletcher, Neil Dominique, and David James. As far as the security, she named D-Rock, Bonds, Uncle Polly, Fahim, and Malik. She said that the staff helped stock the freak-off rooms with protection, lubricant, baby oil, and sometimes afterwards they would help clean. In terms of weapons, she said that Diddy would keep them in his safes across all of his homes. She said that the safes also had SD cards, cash, jewelry, and videotapes. Once when she was mushrooms, Diddy gave her a weapon to carry with her while she was in a club in downtown LA, and she was terrified. Also detailed a time when they were in the middle of a freak-off and Diddy's security, D-Rock, came in to let him know that Suge Knight was nearby. He said Diddy left with staff to confront him and she cried and begged him not to do anything stupid. Cassie also talked about her very first freak-off and said it was in the first year of their relationship when she was 22. It was held in an LA home and Diddy had an escort there who was a dancer from Vegas. Cassie said she was on and drinking, and that Diddy had her wear a masquerade mask and platform shoes. She felt dirty and confused, but admitted that she felt relieved because he seemed happy. She participated because she wanted to please him, avoid angering him, and she was scared of what no could turn into. She then went on to list all the cities that the freak-offs took place in, from New York to Miami, LA, Atlanta, Ibiza, Vegas, Turks and Caicos, and her own homes. Hotel rooms were booked under aliases. If it was hers, it was Jackie Star. If it were his, it were Frank Black or Frank White. She said the sessions were highly choreographed by Diddy, from lighting to positions to wardrobe to scents, including candles. Baby oil was used extensively. She said sometimes 10 bottles a session. In one instance, she said Diddy told her to get into the kiddie pool, which was filled with baby oil. If it were that time of the month, she was expected to participate. She talked about times when Diddy and escorts would urinate on her and in her mouth. She testified that she would choke and it was disgusting. If they were in the middle of a session and they ran out of supplies, they would call hotel staff or his assistants. Yes, there would be damages from these sessions at the hotels, which would lead to hotel charges. When it came to substances, she said Diddy often provided them, and she would take snow, alcohol, and mushrooms. She also said that the freak-offs would become full-time jobs, that she would have no space for a normal life or a career. Cassie said she didn't want to participate in the freak-offs, and she tried to stop them gently. She cried while describing the humiliation, saying she felt worthless and felt like the only time she could get attention from him was during the freak-offs. She had emailed him with concerns, but then backpedaled out of fear, and in one email she wrote, "I really need to." She said she did that as a way to appease him. He responded saying she was predictable, implying that he knew she didn't want to participate anymore. Like she said earlier, she feared blackmail because a lot of these freak-offs were recorded. She said she turned over laptops and devices with potential material to the feds. When it came to nicknames, she wanted to give him something that nobody called him, and he asked her, "What do you call your grandfather?" She said Pop Pop, and that became his nickname, to which she now realizes was disrespectful. That wraps up the last 2 hours of her testimony. They should be back in the courtroom now, and I will give you the final update after she's done. Cassie just finished for the day and she'll be back on stand tomorrow, but we now have more details as to what actually happened the day of the hotel surveillance video. That day at the hotel was days before the premiere of one of her first major movies, The Perfect Match. Cassie testified that she agreed to one more freak-off that week, but not because she wanted to, but as damage control. She told the jury if she pleased him, then her movie premiere would run smoothly. Now remember yesterday, former security guard of the hotel, Israel Flores, said that when he got to the room, he saw that there was another man in there. Cassie testified that the man in the room was a male escort named Jules. She said she ended up with a black eye after Diddy hit her in between the sessions. So she had a session, Diddy went into the shower, and she thought that was the perfect time to escape, and that's why you see her running without her shoes on. Obviously, we saw what happened next. Prosecutors asked her how many times Diddy had assaulted her like that before. She said too many to count. Talking about the freak-offs, she said she never arranged them on her own and how she was directed to go on Craigslist to look for these escorts. She said her job was to make sure that these escorts would not tell people about the things they were doing and to also make sure that they were not cops. When the prosecutor asked her why not cops, she said she had learned that this whole thing was illegal, which the judge told the jury to ignore that comment. Cassie also said she would contact dancing services and show images to Diddy for his approval. She said the men were paid anywhere from $1,000 to $6,000, and Diddy would hand her the cash, which she would then give to them. At one point, they were showing her photos of some of the men, which she identified as the Punisher, Dave, Jules, and Daniel. Now, I do apologize for this part, but she said that when she was with these other men, Diddy would instruct them to finish on her, and then in a separate room, have her rub that stuff on Diddy's nipples. She testified that she hated it, every single part of it, and that she would use substances to numb herself. She said, at every freak-off, I had to disassociate. I needed to become emotionless. She told the court she would often feel nauseous, that she would vomit from these substances, and Diddy would make her continue. Cassie testified that she was often filmed. Sometimes he would use her own device and that she would delete them and ask him to delete it because that's not something she wanted to be seen. She even said sometimes if he wasn't in the room, he would FaceTime. Cassie recalled telling Diddy that she felt insane because she did not want these sessions being recorded. He told her that the recordings brought him enjoyment after the parties were over. And she said she would watch the videos with Diddy when they were doing it. That's pretty much everything she said today, and after the jury was excused, prosecutors told the judge that they would need half the day with Cassie tomorrow. Obviously, that would mean that cross-examination would also happen tomorrow, and that makes me really nervous for Cassie.